Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Richard and welcome back to the weekly watch list video sponsored by MarketSmith. As always, we're going to run through the names on my focus list for this upcoming trading week, and I'll discuss their overall technicals as well as fundamentals. And if you do enjoy my analysis and find this helpful, please go ahead and take the time right now to leave me a like down below. It really helps immensely. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this one every single week, as well as tutorials and interviews with top traders and investors. With that said, my overall view on the market is pretty negative as of this moment. Let's go back to this chart here and just bring up the NASDAQ composite. And I discussed this much more in depth in my stock market outlook video, as well as the article. And you can see we're pretty much in a downtrend on all time frames, and we're basically within a longer term bear market. So it's not time to be really pressing things to the long side. And even to the short side, we're kind of short term extended, and the better entries were back where we failed near that 200 SMA, or even as we kind of lost this area, the 21 EMA, or even the downside reversal near the Fed announcement. So it's kind of a wait and see mode for now, but I'm watching those stocks that are holding up better than most and are potential leaders when the overall market pressure lifts. And with that said, let's dive into the watch list and start with ARRY. And this is within one of my top areas of focus in terms of stocks that are holding up well, the solar names. I'm also focused on biotech and medical related stocks, as you'll see from the rest of this list. Overall, this had a negative day on Friday, but a decent close, kind of halfway within the high to low range and back near that 21 EMA. And I'd love to see kind of a breakout through this DTL here, but this could definitely use more time and just kind of go sideways and basically build this base up near the top of this resistance level, as you see right here. This is going to be a key spot, and I really like the look of this weekly chart. Inverse head and shoulders here, and then strong action off the lows, and now forming a short-term base. You can see the great fundamentals recently and super strong estimates as well. So definitely a stock that's really high up on my focus list. You can see Energy Solar is ranked 1 out of 197. Moving on, we've got ENPH, which is also pretty strong within that solar group. You can see it's right near all-time highs. So it's got less overhead supply to deal with than ARRY. And you can see very strong fundamentals as well. Looking at the daily chart, this may be a little bit weaker as it kind of forms a short-term base. You can see it's holding these lows pretty well, but it has lost that 21 EMA and it's kind of leaking down here a little bit. So I'd love to see a response from this level, maybe a big shakeout underneath. That would be great. And then you could potentially buy a kind of reversal up, 2-2 reversal through that high, managing risk right either at that low, the bottom of this range just below that, or even if you're kind of a trader or investor who likes to give it a little bit more room, this low right here, if that does occur. But I'd love to see this kind of move sideways for a few more weeks, let that 50 SMA catch up to price. And overall, I like the overall chart. You had a nice breakout on huge volume, and then this consolidation as the overall market pulls back. So that is ENPH. FSLR is another name to note, although it doesn't really have as definitive a setup. This has been super strong, holding that 21 EMA and even the 10-day simple, I believe. During this market correction, you can see the relative strength line is pretty much going straight up, and going over to a weekly, you can see that this is right near all-time highs. So definitely another name to watch. And if this does pull back to its 21 EMA, I'll be watching it pretty closely, especially if the pullback is on lighter volume. Moving on to the next stock on my focus list, we've got STEM, which is also an energy play. And this is a little bit off the bottom here, but we're back above the 200 SMA and we're right at that 21 EMA. I'd love to see a breakout through this DTL. Once again, we're leaking a little bit here down towards that 21 EMA and right near these lows. So I want to see it hold that. And overall, a nice reaction off of that would be fantastic, and a breakout on volume through this intermediate pivot. Moving on to SWAV. This is another name that had a super strong breakout on volume and has been bucking the overall trend and really making nice gains given the market conditions, and it's now pulled back to the 21 EMA. I'd love to see some sideways action for a few weeks and then a breakout through an intermediate pivot, and then ideally through this high into all-time highs. But another name that is acting super strong, relative strength line, a nice uptrend, and you can see the numbers coming in as well, and nice estimates for 2023. Moving on, we've got RYTM. This already had a nice move through this DTL, but is consolidating a little bit on this Friday. I'd love to see maybe one more inside day, and that could set up a really nice breakout through these highs. But keep in mind, this is definitely a fast mover, a high octane stock. So if it does fail and reverse, it's going to reverse hard. So make sure you're managing risk very tightly here, and maybe even using a lower than usual position size, especially considering the overall market conditions. But this held the 21 EMA really nicely. And there's actually a name I put on my newsletter, which will be linked down below before this breakout. So with that, we've got a few more names here. First, taking a look at TMDX, which I skipped here. There's another medical related stock that's been acting super strong. It's right near all-time highs. I believe that all-time high is right above 50, and it's pretty much going sideways as the market is pulling back and is holding that 21 EMA nicely. I'd love to see a dry up in volume as it kind of goes sideways, but we'll have to see what happens. And if the market does continue to roll over, I would expect this to fail the all-time high kind of level, which is right here at 50, as I said. But overall acting super strong, trending above those moving averages. Moving on, we've got Imcr, and a lot of kind of biotech names look very similar to this. And just in general, it's kind of flagging out sideways near that 21 EMA as the market is pulling back. Relative strength line is making higher highs and higher lows. And you have a nice kind of upside reversal here on Friday, which I'd love to see it kind of progress from. And you've got a short-term DTL here, pretty stubby, so more of a swing trade type setup. Moving on, we've got CCJ, and you can see a nice push off these lows, great volume coming in, and it's basically holding right near this level. I'd love to see maybe one more inside day, maybe a undercut and reclaim of this level, and then you could buy the breakout through that high, or you could wait for a breakout through this pivot right near 30. But this is super strong off of those lows. Moving on, we've got PDD, which had a nice breakout through these levels last week, but pretty much held near that area. So it still could be actionable next week. And I love the volume coming in here. I'd love to see that continue and for it to progress up here and really start a stage 2 uptrend. But overall, you can see this is an off the bottom play. We just retook that 200-day moving average, but definitely a stock to watch. You can see really strong estimates for this year and the next, and great numbers as well in terms of quarterly earnings, sales, and margins. Lastly, we've got TH, which is holding up well after a super strong breakout on volume. And of course, considering the market conditions, you can see the relative strength line is pretty much going sideways. And I'd love to see a breakout through this kind of short-term DTL and a retake of that 21 EMA as it kind of forms out a base here above the 50 SMA. But definitely a name to watch. You can see great quarterly numbers. No high-quality funds in here just yet, but also nice estimates for 2023. So overall, that's pretty much it for this week's watch list. Let me know your favorite from this list, as well as any other names that you're really focused on for next week. Remember, the overall market conditions in terms of most of the timeframes are down. So there's no need to be a hero and try to, pick the market bottom, wait for the market to confirm things. But if you are a more active trader, you can try to play those 1 to 3 day pops in terms of a counter trend rally. So thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you have any, leave a like down below as well. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care.